Hello, in this build we explain how to create a data access class in a form that is possible to execute unit tests on it without going to the database. Traditionally, developers create the data class by direct implementation of the object designed to manage the database access. And normally we use the concrete implementation of the connection object, for example, SQL connection, to implement the data access class. This form does not allow to create a mock of the class that depends on the existence of an interface. The interface allows us to create a fake object to implement the mock. Let's see this situation in code. As we explained in the previous screen, normally when we create a class that accesses the database, we create all the objects here with new. We create the SQL connection, SQL command, and so on, the execute reader, to gather information from database. In this example, we are using the Blazor template, only we modified the get data that was static to access the simple database. Why we do that normally is because the concrete object SQL connection, SQL commands don't have any interface that we can introduce in as we cannot inject a interface for this object. Let's see how we do this, how we can do this in the next screen. The base for create a mock-friendly data class is use the IDB connection interface as base for the object used to write from the database. And we can configure the parameter in the startup to use the concrete class, for example, SQL connection, but instead to use directly the IDB connection as parameter, a delegate is passed as parameter. This delegate is configured to create a factory of the IDB connection inside the class. But why we bother to create a factory of the class? Well, this guarantees that the concrete object instance in the class is only used in the class. We can configure the factory for IDB connection in the startup class to create, for example, SQL connection type. Then we pass the configurable factory of IDB connection inside the class by injection, and inside the class the parameter is executed and an internal SQL connection object is created and it is ready to be used. This object is not shared with other instances of the class. Let's see this in the code. As we see in the previous screen, we made 3 steps to convert our class in a class that is possible to mock and test with XUnit without the use of the database. First thing we introduce in the constructor, we inject a function that is a function of the IDB connection that is a factory. This factory entering the class, and then we invoke this factory inside the code to get the concrete object. But first, we need to configure this factory to enter the object that we want. In this case, we do this in the startup of the class, and here we get from the configuration the connection string of the database, and when we add to be ready to injection the IMOC ready service, we configure this method that we enter here to create a concrete SQL connection string, SQL connection object. Since any time that the factory is invoked, a new SQL connection object is returned to the class. After that, only that we need to use is use this connection to create the rest of the object and configure the commands. We create the command here, type IDB command, and also we open the connection, and we also create here a data reader. It's using that is to avoid to need to close the data reader. Let's see, after they go to the using, it's gone. And we enter the information and finish. Here we are at only to create this asynchron. We put all this code inside a task to be able to use async and a task to return. Now we implement our test case. We can use the IDB connection to create a fake class using mock to test the code of the class without need to go to the database. Based in this mocked class, we can configure the rest of the necessary mock objects, the data reader, command, and so on, and we are able to test our class. Let's see this in the code. Now let's see how we created our test class. Well, that is so now in the other demonstration we saw how to create how to use this class, and now we take a look how to create the method for test this class. Create the project test here. Here we have our mock object to test the class. So because that is the IDB connection, we can create a mock for this IDB connection, as we usually use a mock. Also, we set up the method because we declare here strict. That is optional. You can put loose, but if you want to test all the classes, better if you put the strict. This method is simple because don't return any scenes for the mock. We created our method to be tested using the injecting the mock connection directly. That is a function, and it's a delegator. We can enter information in service. Then we mock all different objects, the data reader in this case, because we are testing an object that uses data reader class. Here we set this data reader that's only the first time return information, and the second time no. This is a stop. This is only recording the database to retrieve, and that is the record that we want to retrieve, or the simulation of the rec. Here we created the mock of the IDB connection. Enter a parameter for this as is needed. This is a setup, the input of the parameter that we use in our class. And we also set up the execute data reader. This is for mocking, to complete the mocking of the object. This return is a mock data reader object that we are configured here. That's mock now the objects. So the setup for create the commands. That's what we're using in our method. And return the command mock object. And now we make our suit here and get the forecast model and return. We can verify that this only return a record. We can, that is depending as we want. In the case, verify that, for example, only one time was called or was added a parameter to the in the method. It's in the method under test. Yeah, this is only one parameter. It's checking. You can see you add more parameters. You can also check this. We have another class here. Another method that is insert, and we can also here how to configure it. This code you can download for our website, and we have more example how to create this. Thank you for your attention. You can see the code for these pills in our website, avalon.software.com, and thank you very much. And don't forget to subscribe if this like you. Thank you.